Hi, everyone.
Hi,
Good evening!
everyone.
Hey, we just started this exactly right now, and nothing happened before this moment.
Absolutely.
Welcome to Dungeons and Dragons. I am Llama Chomp. I will be playing the Dwarven monk Harbeck Iron Fist. Above me is Eversor.
Hi, I'm Eversor. I will be playing Brieg, our more than a little bit crazy gnomish arcane trickster. Am I supposed to introduce who's next?
Oh,
And
above him
me
is Babs.
Babs.
Hey, I'm Babs. I will be playing Dinblade, the tiny little ranger who was raised by wolves.
And across the way over there is Flick.
Next, across the way we have... I don't know which way it is.
I am Flick. I'll be playing Tabrin, the human, impulsive warlock con artist.
And last but not least, in the top left corner of your video feed is Lolash.
That'd be me. I'm the DM, so, I'm responsible for creating the world and the story and the enemies and the traps and the devious mind-screwing puzzles that the party encounters.
And also trying to keep track of all of our many, many tangents.
Yeah. It's always fun. Let's start off with a bit of a recap. What happened during our last session? Why don't we get that from Brieg? Brieg, what happened last session?
So, last session, I'm not going to do this in character because I'm not in character yet. So last session, we were in a manor that appeared where nothing was previously. So Din, that is familiar with the area, said, that shouldn't be there. So we went and investigated this big manor house, and we found that it was scary and full of some sort of weird white demony things that can walk through walls. Anyway, so we had fought some of those and some animated armor and things 2 sessions ago. Then this session last session, we were trying to figure out where that all came from, and we spent a bunch of time running around and setting off traps and things. 2 of our party, Tabarin and Din, ended up trapped in an interdimensional space for some time, while Harbeck and Brieg's alter ego, Lord Silverstar, wandered around the manor. We thought that maybe we were looking for them, but mostly we were just wandering around chatting for like an hour while Tabarin took a short rest and waited for his magic to recharge so he could fix his own problem because we weren't helping.
There's a whole YouTube episode that's just like the two of us having a conversation.
And then I may be getting these things out of order. Maybe we were attacked by a vampire before they got trapped in an interdimensional space? I don't remember.
Yeah, that happened before.
Okay, so we got attacked by a vampire who we're pretty sure was the guy that was posing as the owner of the manor inn thing that invited us in. Anyway, so he attacked us and bit Harbeck, who was cured by Tabarin's the fact that he's a pack rat and kept a bunch of stuff from the very first dungeon we were in 17 episodes ago. So that was
very last vial of that stuff.
Yeah, we're out of our magic Deus Ex Machina liquid. So then they got trapped in an interdimensional space. We wandered around for a while. When they got out, Tabarin said, we should get out of here. And Din said, we should burn this place down. And I was like, well, shouldn't we find the guy that is in charge and kill him? Because he's obviously a bad dude. And while we were wandering around outside the manor discussing that, the manor disappeared and took away our options. So then we continued on to the temple at Alisar. And when we got to the temple at Alisar, we didn't really know what we were going to do there. But on our way up the road to the temple, there were some guards, a dragonborn and an Arakokra or something, some kind of bird person. And they stopped us and they're like, you were way too human to come to this temple. And we're like, well, okay. So then we told them our completely unbelievable story about how we're fighting Sarath. And the bird person was like, you're ridiculous. But I think that my elder would be amused by your ridiculousness, so I will try to arrange a meeting for you. And we were like, cool. So then we went and took a little nap while we waited for our meeting time to arrive. The end.
Yeah, it was It was quick, which was good because we were starting a little bit late tonight. So basically,
Now do it again in one breath.
the party has traveled to Alisar.
The 30-second version.
They've met a couple of basically gate guards that were guarding the pass up towards the temple, which is a huge, massive temple that's like completely grandiose and ancient and obviously well guarded by all of these savage races in the freelands of Amaris. They've arranged a meeting with the Elder of the Bird People, and they have begun to discuss and determine and decide how they're going to explain what has happened to them and what they know, and they're trying to decide what questions they need to ask and what information they want to get out of being here. They were resting for a little while, so they've been able to spend hit dice and get all of their spells back, and generally they're just all set and ready to go, and we'll be taking off from just after that bit of rest before the meeting with the Elder. So, that's where we're going to be starting tonight's session. So, what have you guys decided? Have you thought on exactly?
That was it. That's what we've decided.
Off camera, I decided that Brieg needs to staple Harbeck's mouth shut because he has a very big problem with filtering what words he says when he starts talking about things. And he's just not allowed to help with this because it won't happen well.
But yeah, you decided that you needed
also
to.
stapled Din's mouth shut.
Yeah, I
Maybe
think like
stapled Din to Harbeck so she doesn't wander off. There should be a lot of stapling.
just a lot of stapling. But yeah, you need to go talk to the old bird, and you need to decide.
Big and yellow. He's big and yellow.
Well,
No, he's
we really
not
want to find out what we can of the history of the area, more or less the ancient history of the previous gods, and
I may have some information.
okay.
For sure now. Information.
I had an experience a few nights ago that I think it may shed some light on our current situation. It's a bit awkward to talk about, and I'm not exactly sure that I understand everything myself, but I decided to try to say a prayer a few nights ago to one of the old gods, an old gnomish god called Garl Glittergold. So you know of my suspicions that I have some relationship to those gods, and well, I now know a bit more about that relationship.
So when you say you tried to pray, is it more like you were calling home?
Well, I've never prayed before. I didn't really know how that was going to go. But I ended up having some sort
you
of...
were a god.
I ended up having a vision that clarified that point exactly.
Oh, okay, great.
So it turns out that I'm not a god, exactly.
Yet.
I'm just Brieg. However, one of those gnomish gods, in order to avoid the devastation that hit the rest of them, somehow bound his soul to mine, and it's very possible that that's what broke my mind.
Your mind is broken?
Have you not noticed?
Well, sometimes you think more clearly than any of the rest of us.
I imagine putting a god soul into that of a mortal is about like trying to cram a whole barrel into a pint glass, not that I've ever tried it.
more than once anyway.
Yes, I think that it was something like that. Anyway, so I didn't speak to Garl. I did speak to the god whose soul is now somehow bound to mine, in mine.
So you did kind of pray to yourself.
I did. It was an odd experience, to say the least. So what I saw was... So, does anybody know the date?
Tuesday.
The year? It's 3056 post apocalypse.
Dragon?
So my point is that the event that we measure our time from, that cataclysm, I saw some of the results. I have good reason to believe that Tiamat and Sarath and Kurtlemark somehow managed to imprison or partially destroy or something many of the other gods, and they've upset some sort of cosmic balance that will eventually lead to the destruction of the world, that imbalance. So, our long-term goal is to save the world. Yes?
I was really afraid that you were going to say that our long-term goal is to save the world. And I just want to point out that I grew up in a forest raised by wolves, and I feel highly underqualified for this job.
I don't exactly feel qualified myself. I don't remember where I was raised, but I spent the last significant portion of my life either locked in an asylum for the mentally ill or running from those that locked me in an asylum for the mentally ill. So...
Right, but you are at least part god.
Sort of.
I don't understand commerce.
It is a bit strange how we were chosen for this job. We happened to be on the boat that sank.
Right. So when I asked why me, the response that I got was essentially bad luck.
Oh, great! Great!
So I think that we're all sort of in that same boat. But I was given the...
Same boat, that's how this whole thing started.
So I was given this somewhat reassuring comment that the deity that has shared his soul with me was at one time himself mortal, and he suggests that I would be surprised at what we mere mortals are capable of. It was cold comfort, but that was all the comfort that was offered.
How hard do you think I have to pray to you before you become a god?
I don't think that's how that works.
We haven't died yet. That feels comforting.
Fair enough. Can't say I know a lot about religion.
Anyway, so I don't know exactly. He did suggest that there may be some information here at the temple. The temple at Alisar, if my fragmented deific memory has any validity, was at one time a temple to the overgod Io, the god of all gods, and it's been around for a very long time. It was his seat, and we may be able to find some clues there. So I think it is important to gain entrance. I still don't know what we tell this old bird that we're going to speak to in order to gain that entrance, because I'm pretty sure I had a dream where a god told me that I am kind of him a little is going to work very well.
Okay, but I thought... I mean, we are going into a temple, so maybe I prayed and a god told me I need to go into the temple will work.
Possibly. We could try it.
Not if they push too hard on why, or what the details of the prayer were.
And I think that this god has since been, or this temple rather, has since been taken over and sort of dedicated to a specific subset of gods, and the gnomish one that I spoke to is not included in that subset, so gaining access to this particular temple doesn't make much sense from that standpoint.
So what?
Well, you don't have to tell him to whom you prayed.
What do we need from the people here to figure out the next step of saving creation? which is, just a bit of a thing that we need to get done. Possibly by next week.
I feel like the information that we have about Sarath and Tiamat and their allies is pretty thin at the moment. We know basically that they exist and that they're the bad guys. I think additional information is our main goal.
That feels like a lot of information.
Right, but I think we should have a specific bit of information we should be pursuing. Maybe that bit of information is, hey, what do we need to know?
Perhaps. Tabarin, you have a thought?
I do. I do have the avian script from the ring, from the original box from Sarath, that translates to Stormcaller. Rather than show them an object, really just transcribing the writing itself and asking them what they know of this writing and if they have any legends or stories of some artifact called Stormcaller, and seeing what information they're willing to give us, and then maybe playing into that story with some of the information that we have to at least gain some trust or common ground.
I think that seems like as good an idea as any of us have had. Oh, just as a side note, I also found out that the people that we met in Kanesh, the group that we've been mistrusting for so long, it turns out that they were some of the last remaining devotees of the deity that is bound to me, and that they were actually good people. The appearance of the elves was unlucky happenstance, not their doing.
It seems we're to do a bit of good luck now. We've had a bit of bad luck.
Aye. Well, an entire lifetime of it.
It's probably time to turn that around.
Still doesn't give us any answers as to the weird yellow glowing growing crystals and the weird lizard guy that came out on the beach and took it from us.
I really hope that someone should be keeping a list of all the absurd things that we've come across that we don't know what they are, so we can try to address those questions at some point in the future.
I think I've very purposely forgotten about a bunch of them, so that I don't have to address them in the future. I kind of want the world to go back to normal.
I feel like Tabarin's suggestion at asking about Stormcaller, perhaps if we copy the script exactly, that will give our question a bit more credence, seeing it in their own writing. That seems like as good a place to start as any, and we'll share what little additional information we have as it's required. Does that sound like a plan?
I think that's at least our first common ground with the avian script and starting a conversation.
I also recall that the guards were somewhat visibly upset when we mentioned the name of one of those evil deities. So we may want to avoid that until the moment seems right, and perhaps Tabarin or I should decide when that moment arrives. Harbeck?
Yes.
I think we
Absolutely.
should mutually decide that, because sometimes I'm impulsive and I just say things.
I'm better at knowing when the moment's right to have a drink.
visual.
Now, I think.
I really don't like being in charge of this conversation, but I suppose...
Right. Not in charge. We can...
Well, that's what you get for being the most sensible one of us. You get to be the face of the group.
I
don't even know why he's the most sensible. He's the most volatile.
No. I am certifiably insane. I'm well aware that I'm crazy. I know that my brain is broken. How am I the voice of reason?
As long as
because
the broken bits don't show up. Crazy.
It's just one of your voices has reason. It's
Everything
not that you're the voice
fine.
of reason.
If the angry stabby guy comes, what do we do?
So the angry stabby guy, I don't know if he's going to come again. I mean, I spoke to him, sort of. I'm not sure that... I don't really know how this works.
We should have a plan so that the angry stabby guy doesn't kill people who are going to help us get into the temple.
Unless one of them turns out to be one of those evil deities, I don't anticipate him showing back up.
Does Angry Stabby Guy
That's
have a name?
not a plan.
His name is aside to DM. It's Baravar, right?
Yeah, it's Baravar Cloak Shadow.
Yeah. I should.
That feels like I shouldn't be calling someone who might come out and stab me angrily, Angry Stabby Guy.
He's not.
I'd just like to maybe address him a bit more respectfully than that.
Baravar Cloak Shadow is the name of that gnomish deity that has been bound to me through some sort of trickery, and he is angry, but his anger is quite focused, and he has good reason. He's spent the last 3,000 odd years stewing on the fact that his home was destroyed and everything that he knows and loves either dismantled or imprisoned or something. You know, he's angry.
Did he give you any indication what could happen on this mortal plane to restore all of his 3,000-year destroyed home? I feel like we're in a bit over our heads.
Yeah, I tried to get more specific information, but frankly, it was an experience that I wasn't expecting, so I didn't go with a list of prepared questions.
Next time.
I'm not sure that there will be a next time. He seemed somewhat reticent to get too directly involved. Mostly, he said to continue on the path that we're on and do our best to oppose Sarath. I think that if we can disrupt whatever plans they have in motion on this plane, it may tip the balance back to a more balanced state, and give those that have been destroyed or whatever the opportunity to correct their situation themselves. If that makes any sense. We don't need to actually win the fight, we just need to tip it back in the right direction.
Great. So, interfere with scaly people. No,
Yes,
not.
essentially.
That is not the way you want to say that. Not the way.
This is why I'm not allowed to speak at the meeting. Interfere with the bad scaly people, and everything will be okay. Not the good
So we
ones.
just kill all
Not
the
the
bad
dragony
guys
ones,
and
but the
then
lizardy ones.
Good guys.
Those are probably not words they like, is it?
Right, so I'm not sure.
Racial
that
sensitivity
killing
wasn't a
them
big thing at the monastery.
So I'm not sure that setting our goal as kill all the bad guys is quite the right direction to head in. I think we need to
Seems like a
figure
worthy
out what it is they're planning and try to stop it from happening.
But if we kill them all, won't we have effectively stopped it from happening?
That is one possible solution. I don't think that it's going to be the best one, but you're right, that would probably work.
Probably.
So I think that our main goal is, so we have a place to start, and I think our main goal is to gather more information so that we can come up with some more realistic short-term expectations, because the goal of save the world is a bit broad, and I know that goals are supposed to be achievable and well-defined, so we should break that up into smaller goals.
Where is the world now? Let's go save it. Oh, it's right here. We're just standing on it. This will
Right, so
work great.
This portion is safe.
This would be really easy.
So,
The
short-term
Aether-
goal is this conversation needs to somehow lead us up to the temple at Alisar to hopefully find more information
Right,
at
so
the temple, whether it's...
we would like to gain permission to enter the Temple of Alisar. That's our first short-term goal.
Should our
I have an
overall...
idea.
Oh, go ahead, Din.
You're gonna like this one. Maybe if we leak it to the bad guys that we are trying to stop them, they will come find us, and then we don't have to go anywhere.
When it's 4 against who knows how many, it's probably best to maintain the element of surprise.
Oh.
We also have this small problem where we don't know where the bad guys are, which makes it difficult to communicate anything to them.
Or really who?
This is a good point.
So, what if we said,
Maybe if we
hey,
just let everybody see that we're trying to stop the bad guys, eventually word will get back to them.
We'll just camp here with some big signs that says "We oppose Sarath," and then we'll wait.
What if that was our message, though? We go into the meeting, our overall message is we oppose the followers of Sarath, and you should hire us to do whatever it is you want to do to the followers of Sarath. Like, let's be mercenaries for a moment.
I don't know that they have an objective against Sarath because they don't even believe Sarath is present in today's time.
This is part of our problem, is that, sometime around 3,000 years ago, the gods just sort of up and left as far as most of the world is concerned. And while they still have their devotees, I'm not sure that anyone really believes that they're around. And
okay, so first we convince them that the need to oppose these people, and then we say, how would you like us to oppose people that you didn't know existed? No, that's not going to give us any information we didn't already have. Never mind.
So I think we'll just start with the Stormcaller thing, and we'll see where the conversation goes from there. Right?
Harbeck's
Great winging, it's what I'm best at. Let's go.
Yeah, and Harbeck, what are the names that you're not going to mention during this conversation?
Voldemort.
Nope.
Wait, I don't know who that is. But yeah, I'm not going to say any names. I might say Berevar, because I want to be on stabby, angry guy's good side.
All right, and Din, do you remember the names that we're not going to say?
How the mighty have fallen. Harbeck is on the same playing field as Din in social situations.
We're not going to say angry stabby guy. And
if you can't remember the names, that's even better. All right, let's go.
Okay.
As the sun starts to dip below the horizon, the party finally comes to the conclusion that they're just going to wing it.
I don't
and head off.
do that from the beginning.
It went so well with the guards.
And head off to meet the guard after he finishes his shift on the road to Alisar, so that they can be led off to wherever the bird people are staying and meet the Elder. So you get to the guard post at the base of the climb.
As the old bird, just so you know.
Probably, yeah. No, that's the perfect number of S's, Lama. The perfect number of S's. Okay, so you get to the bottom of the climb, the road to Alisar, and you see the same two guards standing there, but their relief has arrived, and they're just chatting to the other two guards. And as you start to walk up the hill towards them, the birdman that you'd previously spoken to and met notices you coming up the hill and starts to walk towards you. There's still that air of distrust. There's still a lot of savage peoples around, and they're all sort of throwing sideways glances at you and typically looking very distrustful or downright aggressive when looking at you. There, it's
our skin is far too soft and pink.
Yes, yeah, you get the distinct feeling that you're not really welcome in this neighborhood. You've yeah. It's not very pleasant for you. But the birdman walks towards you, and as he starts to get a little bit closer, you can tell that he's smiling and in a pretty good mood. And he walks up and says, "All right, all set?"
All set. Ready to
all right,
go?
then. Fantastic. It's not far. We don't have to go very far. We've got a little campsite, not maybe a 10-minute walk from here. That's where our elder is staying. You're more than welcome to join me, and we'll head on over there. My name's Leica, by the way. I didn't introduce myself properly at the base of the mountain, official business and all of that, but Leica. Leica's my name.
Harbeck.
Hello, Harbeck.
Tabarin.
Brieg. And this one's Din.
Din is busy eating.
She's not big on social protocol. She doesn't realize that eating in company isn't polite.
At least she's chewing with her mouth closed. So, Right. Okay. Off this way, and he starts to lead you around the edge of the base of the mountain. Not traveling far from the mountain itself, but sticking reasonably close to where the true mountain rises from the earth around it. After a short walk, you find yourself at basically a ringed encampment. Small, like thatched hutches, sort of sit in a circle. There's a fire pit in the middle, and you see several of these same birdmen. You're not familiar with a race or anything like that, but these same birdmen all wandering around. They seem to be a fairly militaristic race. Like even in their campsite, even just wandering around, talking, eating, drinking. They all seem to be carrying weapons and wearing. It's a kind of mishmash of chainmail and plate mail, although the plate mail seems to be incredibly thin and lightweight because it doesn't seem to restrict their movement at all. Leica turns to you and says, "The Elder's just over there in that hut. Excuse me. The Elder's just over there in that hut. You'll be able to meet with him in just a minute. I'm just going to go in ahead of you and let him know that you're here.
Okay.
And we can go from there. Okay.
Are there any social protocols that we should be aware of that we may be unfamiliar with? Not having spent much time with your people.
Boras is he's a fine leader and quite progressive. I don't think there'll be too many issues. Just be respectful. He's
all right.
How old are you, little gnome?
50-ish. I'm not really sure.
Just be respectful. Boris has seen, let's just say, many more years than you have.
Would it be respectful to offer a drink?
He's too old to drink, unfortunately.
Sad.
His body can't take it anymore.
Fair enough.
And with that, Leica turns and
yes,
heads into the tent.
You should have asked how we're going to recognize him, because all of these people look the same to me.
Don't say that again.
Okay.
I think that might be racist.
Is it racist or speciest or
Birdist.
Something.
birdist? A few moments later, a minute or two later, Leica reappears from the tent and sort of holds the flap open and gestures for you to enter.
At least we think it's like a... I'm just saying.
Stop saying.
I'll enter in.
Yeah, I'll follow.
Heading on inside?
Yeah, I'll go too.
I'm bringing
Okay.
up the rear.
No worries. You enter into the hut, and it's incredibly, like, you would consider it garish. There are a lot of very shiny things in here. It's... Yeah, like, and there's definitely some very valuable things in here. Like, you can see some incredibly well-polished gemstones and shiny things. But there's also some, like, completely, like, valueless shiny things. It's very garish. There's a lot of bright colors and reflective surfaces and things.
Llama Chomp's bird people
that's
racism is just like going off. I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think of like how Harbeck is responding to this, but like Llama Chomp's bird racism is like, of course, it's full of shiny baubles.
And sitting in the middle of the tent, sort of reclined over a reasonably comfy-looking like sofa thing, is an old birdman, and you can tell he's an old birdman Even though he still has all of his feathers, he's not balding or anything like that. You can just see from the way he holds himself, his posture, that he is incredibly old and wise. And in fact, he's a brilliant specimen of these bird people. He's got really long, black, glossy feathers that are well preened, and he looks almost like, I would say he looks majestic.
Majestic plumage.
Yes, he's definitely he's very well groomed, and he looks old and wise and comfortable on his couch.
So, before we have this conversation, I just want to comment on the chat, who long ago decided that they were the voices inside Brieg's head.
Yes.
Since it seems that Brieg is becoming slightly less crazy, the chat is all having an existential crisis now. They're worried that if Brieg becomes sane, they might disappear. It's very amusing to me.
No, you guys will be fine. You guys will be absolutely fine.
Harbek's mind is primed for you. If you ever need a home.
The insanity's just being transferred, you know? Anyway, so there's this old birdman reclining on this couch as you walk in.
Are we led to any particular spot to sit, or standing in front of him?
You just walk in and are standing in front of him at the moment.
Is there an obvious place across from him for like people who've come for audience to stand or sit? Is like in the arrangement of the tent, or is it just like awkward? Hey, we're gonna stand here.
It's just awkward. I mean, like, there's plenty of things that you could sit on, but there's no like seats for people who are claiming an audience. There's no like a designated stand here with a big arrow. It's
don't cross.
very informal. You walking in there, you feel like you're walking into like a child's bedroom. It's just a mishmash of mess and color and shiny
Order
things.
of shiny things.
And it doesn't feel formal in the least. Like, it's a really unusual juxtaposition, because here's this regal, old, wise, very comfortable at home leader of an entire tribe of people, proud avian people, surrounded by clutter and color. It's jarring.
I go back to my old standby. Stick with hello, sir.
He sort of cocks his head at you quizzically, and he takes a long time. Like, he sort of stares and speaks very deliberately, as if every word that he speaks carries the weight of 10 words. And he says, "Hello, little one."
Thank
Hello,
you for
sir.
seeing us.
You're most welcome.
I'm not sure how much about our situation was communicated to you before.
My kinsman told me about the story that you told. I'm interested to hear more.
Well, perhaps we should start by
Yes.
asking if you have any questions.
All things in time. Let's start from the beginning.
First, I came across this word. I believe it's part of an ancient script. I'll show him a copy of the word from the ring.
He takes it slowly and methodically from you and looks down and is reading it, contemplating it. Where have you seen this?
It was
I
an
believe
inscription we came across during our varied travels.
This is a variant script, a script that hasn't been used for thousands of years.
I believe
If
I
you
know.
show-
I believe I know
if-
what it reads. I just don't know its meaning.
Harbeck looks at Din, confused.
What he, Brieg leans over, seeing the confused look, and says, "He knows what it says. He just doesn't know what it says. What it says means." Never mind.
To tell you what it means would take far too long. Its meaning is steeped in the history of our peoples.
I thought
Does
it was
it-
going to take a long time to tell our story from the beginning.
Does it relate to the events of the cataclysm more than 3,000 years ago?
Oh no, this ring predates, or this inscription I should say rather. This inscription predates the cataclysm. Far predates the cataclysm.
Harbeck, I think this guy predates the cataclysm.
I'm not that old, wild one.
Din, do you remember the bit about be respectful?
I was just making an observation.
Perhaps you and I should go outside and have a few drinks.
Can
So, your kinsman told you a bit of the fragmented story that we shared with him. I just want you to know that it's all true, and that we're worried about the implications of the things that we've seen. The reason that we've come to the Temple of Alisar is to hope to find answers to some of our many questions. And having never been to the area and not really knowing much about the temple, I didn't realize that it was off limits to us.
The Temple of Alisar is a holy, sacred place, a place that contains history stretching back further than any of you young races remember.
Yes, right to the beginning, I know.
It's important that we protect this history.
I don't disagree. I'm just not sure why we are who it needs to be protected from.
I also fear that perhaps without knowledge of that history, perhaps may not be a future history to write. As odd as that sounds.
He might not know why we think we're that important yet. We should probably get about telling the story. How far back would you like us to start, sir?
where all good stories should start.
So the climax. No, just kidding.
We met on a boat. It was terrible. I was sent on the boat, I think, because the folks at the monastery didn't like me and I didn't fit in. It was a good way to get rid of me for a while.
17 3-hour sessions later.
The boat crashed. We washed up ashore in Veer, and quickly found each other, and set about investigating what had crashed our ship. And that investigation's led us through a very long and twisted road. Somehow has landed us here. I'm not sure which details would be best
Along the road
to give you.
Encountered strange... I don't know that I can call them magical possessing creatures, for it's no magic known to this land as far as I know, although I have inclination to believe that perhaps this magic originates in the Valley of Mists.
Harbeck, was lizard guys one of the things we weren't supposed to talk about? Because we should tell them that we fought a lot of lizard guys.
Right, well, we'll get there. Let's let him ask questions and lead the story in the direction that he's most curious about.
So,
Yes.
what do you know of the Valley of Mists?
Nothing other than a hunch that
We travelled for a while with a dragonborn cleric name of Rogar. And he knew a bit of history. His people had fought the people from the Valley of Mists. And we only know a few more sentences than that about a race that employed strange magic in their conflicts with the Dragonkin.
Those people are called the Sargons. They still dwell in the Valley of Mists, though they've not troubled these lands for...
At
over a
least
millennia.
yesterday when they walked into that head. Maybe that was a couple of days ago.
We've seen them in Veer. They surrounded the inn and burnt it. We were able to fight them off, but they proved quite dangerous.
one of them attempted to take control of my mind and has taken possession of a strange yellow crystal that its source, as we know or knew, was ever growing.
They were called Sargons. Well, Sargon.
There's a not small chance that in the future I'm going to accidentally call them Cylons.
I imagine you will. So they've traveled to the human lands.
We've also seen
That is troubling.
Where did we
have-
find that box? That was in the
Box?
ship, wasn't it?
Which box?
the one that they took.
The box
The-
that we lost to maybe the cat people.
The one that exploded and summoned the Sargons.
That one was
That was in the ship,
in the
right,
ship.
with the yellow crystals.
Right.
The box summoned the Sargons?
When we
We
tried
found
to
a
open-
curious little container and we attempted to open it. There was a rather large explosion. Immediately afterward, these Sargons appeared surrounding the inn.
Right. To say that it summoned them is, well, we're not sure that happened. It did
It may have
appear to get their
attracted them.
attention.
It seems to have. Yeah, perhaps they were searching for it, and
It must be noted that upon the box was the
must it?
ancient symbol of Sarath.
I wasn't supposed to say that word, but you did. You did it, not me.
Do not worry, round one.
Ah,
I'm too old to anger quickly, but I would
Great.
keep your voice down.
do you mind if I sit? These old bones.
By all means.
Harbeck plops onto the ground.
It's not that the bones are particularly old, but they do a lot of work holding all that dwarf in place.
Lad!
I mean, no offense.
Well, I know you don't.
I thought your rotundness was sort of a point of pride.
It takes a lot of work to maintain all of this while we're doing so much work.
All of this cardio and still you manage to stay in perfect shape. It's excellent.
Circle.
It's a perfect shape. So, what do you know of Sarath?
He's the bad guy.
We know Rogar hated him
And not enough.
with quite a bit of fury. We know that there are people moving about in his name, and they have machinations that reach across both sides of the Illyrian Sea.
And they are
I
also
believe-
bad guys.
They're trying to gather ancient artifacts, maybe. I think he's trying to gain power. And I don't know that you would believe this, but I believe that I saw Sarath in a vision.
It's commonly believed that the old gods left us thousands of years ago. Why?
So Brieg, who after his one comment when asked the question about Sarath has been sort of like suspiciously quiet and introspective, looks up at Birdman and says, "Can we trust you?"
That's a difficult question. Can you trust me? I'm an old man. I've seen many things in my time on this earth. I've seen tragedy and happiness.
Brieg, I think if anyone's going to believe your tale, this might be the man. Enemy of our enemy, and all that.
I'm not sure we have a choice about trusting you. But my question is, how can we really be sure that you are the enemy of our enemy? He is our enemy, that is a devious sort.
I am not Sarath's enemy. I am not anyone's enemy. It won't be long until my time here will be ended and I will move on to the spirit world to join my kin and kith, but I have no desire to see the world suffer. There is too much of that.
I don't mean to be rude. I'm not sure how much of our story you really need to know. We're looking to gain access to the Temple of Alisar so that we can, in hopes of finding information to oppose Sarath and that evil being's allies. I'm not sure that I feel comfortable sharing any more of my personal story with you other than that.
Most likely a wise choice, small one. I will see you. I will see you granted passage into the upper reaches of Alisar. But first, I have to ask a favor.
Of course.
And he turns to Tabarin. You mention you saw that script. What do you believe it means?
I think there's power in that word. I think that it is only a small piece of perhaps a greater power.
I don't think there's any harm in telling him the translation, Tabarin.
He probably knows it. He read the script.
He read the script. What can you tell me of the Stormcaller?
He smiles as if remembering an old tale of heroism or humor. Something that brings him joy. And it's clear that he's nostalgic, that he's remembering. Stormcaller was a gift from the gods themselves, gifted to my people at the beginning of our history. It was our greatest treasure.
And what was it?
It allowed us to speak with the spirits of the plane of air, to commune with our ancestors.
What happened to it?
The stories vary. But it was lost to our people millennia ago.
So is it an object of some sort? An artifact?
Yeah.
Is the
A ring.
favor about to be that you need us to find it for you?
I just wanted to hear how you knew of it. It has great significance for my people, and while
Why?
Well, sir,
Maybe
Why-
we should return it.
our
Why?
den.
Why
what
would
do you mean
some-
return it, wild one? And he sits up. He sits upright.
Remember we were going to staple Din's mouth shut?
One of those moments.
Why didn't we invent the stapler before this meeting?
He sits upright on his couch,
Harbeck begins
looks-
furiously artificing.
directly at Din.
So Brig kind of glances at Din and then looks at Harbeck and and then over at Tabarin, kind of shrugs.
Tabarin
And then
just
back
keeps his focus.
Back at the elder and says, "Can you describe the object?
He
We've
said it's
traveled-
a ring.
We've traveled far, and we've seen much, it seems that we are particularly blessed, or perhaps cursed, to have a role in the events of the world. And
Well,
there's
we found a ring that has the word on it.
Din, would you shut your mouth? Channeled it with Harbeck there.
Just give him the thing. It might not be the real thing, but if it is, I think there's no more cats in this bag.
We found a ring. I was trying to find out, slightly more surreptitiously if it may be the object that you were looking for, but I suppose we may as well just show it to you.
Everyone looks at Tabarin.
It was a gift.
What? No, it wasn't. We found it.
No, we didn't.
Oh, where did we get it?
It's not.
No.
I fish out the ring that I know you're talking about out of my pouch and say, it's not this.
Oh. Never mind.
I believe one of the gods from the elemental plane of air intended for us to have possession of this ring.
Shall we pause for our YouTube cut and come back after that tense sentence?
Yeah, yeah. Let's do that.
Great.
I can deal with that.
All right, YouTubes, we'll be back next episode and we'll find out how the old bird responds to, hey, we have your precious ancient artifact, but we're going to keep it. If you're watching on Twitch, you get to find out in 3 minutes.